Welcome back to KMX Behind the Curtain. This is part two with Dan Read. And this time we're going to be talking about how to get booked. So we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and which two superstars impressed in the most of their organisation. So let's get behind the curtain with Dan Read. Welcome to KMX Behind the Curtain. We're back with Dan Read from Pro Wrestling Eve and XWA. Dan, so we spoke about Eve. We spoke about numerous other things in the past. I want to talk to you. I want to get some advice.
We touched on
some stuff. I want to get some advice from you. As a promoter, 20 years in the business, looking at people that want to get into this business, what advice have you got them to get started?
Let's
go from the beginning. How do they get started?
My personal belief is that people shouldn't be training under the age of 18. I also think go to research whatever school. Don't just go to your local school. If you can't be bothered to go to a good school, then you're not cut out to be a wrestler. Yeah. I understand that there are financial restrictions that some people have. You're better off saving up, to go to a reputable school than you are just going to any school. Okay, so that's the first thing that's super important. I would say, do not start training until you're 18 years old. Your body at a younger age is still developing, and if you're injuring it and, constantly, falling on it, you're going to hamper that, and dampen the ability for your body to grow. And, you don't want to cause yourself any long-term effects because of training at such a young age. So my advice first is wait till you're 18, go to a reputable school, and look into, when you're looking at schools, how do they train things? I'm a big believer that, when you first start learning to bump, you should be wearing headgear because everyone bangs their head the first time. So everyone should be doing that. I was literally chatting with Jenna about that recently. She believes the exact same thing. Might have been her pointing it out. But it's something that I 100% agree with. I think it was actually. So that is something that and no one's done that. So although I will say kudos to WWE. I believe WWE do that when people are coming back from concussions. When they first start bumping again, I believe they wear headgear to get them back to before they start bumping back to normal, which I think is incredibly sensible and absolutely the right thing to do.
Do you think people think it's controversial where you're saying they shouldn't train until they're 18? Because obviously you've got the likes of Millie McKenzie, Chantel Jordan coming through. Yeah. They do, but here's the thing, right? When you're young, you feel invincible, right? And that's just, I think pretty much everyone knows that when you're young, you feel invincible. And I think there's going to be a number of people as well that say, well, kids play football and they get hurt playing football and rugby and all those things. And, those are correct, but I'm going to say something else that pisses people off. Wrestling's not a sport. Wrestling is live action stunts. That's effectively what it is. It's a live action theatrical stunt show. That's just what wrestling is. And I think we've looked when you talk about there's no more competition between you and the person you're working with than there is between two actors vying for the same spots in the same movie or the same theatrical production or the same TV series. That's where the competition is. It's in getting better to get those spots because there's only a certain number of spots that will pay you a good enough amount of money to make a living. Otherwise, you're like a jobbing actor going from, whatever production to another production, earning enough to get you through, which is, no different than pretty much anything else. You know what I mean? Job-wise, you're living paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. And so, that'll piss some people off saying that, but the damage that it does to the body, I don't know how many, under 18s are learning to do, huge stunts. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? No, that's what it needs to be likened to. It needs to be likened to doing stunts because that's what you're doing. You jump, you look at some of the things that people do in wrestling. They're huge stunts, absolutely monumental stunts. Some of the things that go on a wrestling show probably wouldn't be allowed to happen the way they happen on a film or TV set. No. You wouldn't believe what we had to go through at Reading Festival to get this. All we did at Reading Festival
was a body slam and a crossbody. That was it. But we had to go through so much to get those things approved.
And I think, as you said, when you make relation to football are now going through the time when they're talking about headers, and obviously the age group where the guys to training, how many times people should head the ball, and they're having issues with dementia in retired footballers. The NFL have had that. There was obviously the film Concussion with Will Smith in it that spoke about the damage to the brain and how that affected people later in their life. And I think, as you said, that with wearing the headgear, I think that's a great idea. I think it's something that obviously could be brought in, especially I trained for a little bit, and I know when I first started, you do hit your head. You learn to bump. You don't get it right every time. And that is a level of safety that can be brought in. I think it's quite a simple thing that can be brought in as well, just to help in the long term for a lot of people.
Yeah, and there'll be a number of people that'll be like, well, in my day, and it's just like, well, it's not your day anymore. We're getting smarter. We're smarter to the world now than what we used to be, and only an idiot would ignore the things that we've learned. Doesn't mean that we take away and we start saying and we try to wrap everyone in bubble wrap, because there's the stunts. It's no different than, as I said, I just keep liking it to being a stunt show. So there are risks involved, but where possible, minimize their risks. Always minimize those risks. Why wouldn't you? If you can create the same effect and minimize the risks, why wouldn't you?
So that's in terms of looking at training schools. Find a reputable training school, look for places around you, but don't also look for the better places, and they look for the places that have got the reviews. Are you talking about speaking to people? Wrestling shows.
We'll speak to people at wrestling shows, email and ask questions. And if the answers seem shady, then the place is probably shady. And 9 out of 10 times with wrestling, that's what it's going to be.
And I'm sure there's another whole episode we can do talking about that. And we'll touch on that on this one, because I do want to touch on that in regards to, because I think it is very important for people to understand that. But looking at approaching, you said talk to people. Wrestling for a while, you've been training for a while. How do you go about approaching promoters? What's the best way of doing it?
Well, as a wrestler?
As a wrestler.
As someone wanting to wrestle?
As a wrestler. So you're now a wrestler, you've been training, and you want to get out there a bit.
How I like it isn't necessarily the same as how others. So, for example, me and Stephen Fludder, who runs Preston Championship Wrestling up north, he has a completely different, philosophy to what I have. He contacting him doesn't make a blind bit of difference, and this is something we've spoken about, because his whole thing is, if I've never heard of you and you contact me, I'm not going to use you. Which is fine. I understand that mentality and that philosophy as well. So his thing is, don't bother emailing me, don't bother contacting me, because unless I've heard of you, I'm not gonna use you. I'm the exact opposite. My whole thing is, if you've contacted me, then you're going to go to a higher portion than someone who hasn't, because you've already shown interest and willing. You've, most likely done more research into Eve, and you have more awareness of Eve, and you've gone to the effort of speaking to us and presenting yourself to us. And I far more want to work with people that want to work with us than people who don't. They just see it as another job. So that initial, I hold anything against anyone that sees it as another job, but I'm just more than likely going to go to someone that's already put the effort in to come to us. And the way I see it as well, even though, Fludder himself, might not pay attention to it, what have you got more chances of being seen, by doing something or by not doing something? I remember when people started flying themselves to other countries, to the States and everything, a load of people got angry because they were like, they're going to stop, flying us out there. And my whole view was, it's got nothing to do with you. You make your opportunity. You got one life. Do you really want to be on your deathbed and have any regrets? That's my whole thing. Because if you're on your deathbed and you're like, I wish I'd have just ignored them and just flew myself out there and gave it a shot to get on some of those shows instead of waiting for the opportunity to come to me. I wish I did everything I could to make the doors of opportunity open.
And so when they're looking at approaching you, what sort of things should they be saying? What sort of things should they be sending to you?
I remember the two people that came to mind, or that I was most impressed with, was Jordan Grace and Killer Kelly.
Yeah.
When when they worked for me the first times, you know, they had a Dropbox or a Drive file, and in that file, it had their entrance music, it had promo photos, it had absolutely everything that a promoter needs. It had a about them section, you know, effectively the CV as well. You know, I knew who trained them, I knew where they'd worked, I knew who they'd done seminars under. There was, when they contacted me, it had everything in. It had their, you know, a selection of matches to watch. One thing I would say to any women wrestlers specifically, don't send intergender stuff. If it's mainly just the guy basing.
Yeah.
Right. I hate that. Like, and that's one thing that's just, you know, like, it just does my head in. You know, there's so many intergender matches, and it's literally just the guy basing for head scissors and runners and satellite DDTs and all sorts. And the second I see that, I'm like, cool, you know, but there are fewer women who can base than there are guys.
Yeah.
So if all your moves that I see you doing are moves that only you can only do with guys, or you can only do with select few women, you're limiting the number of people that I know you can work with on our roster. By doing that, you're limiting your chances of getting booked, because I know I can only put you with this person or that person or that person. So you don't have to send me the most exciting match. Or matches. You just have to send people, you know, the people that know what they're looking at, you know, the matches that show what you can do. Not necessarily that shows your 5-star classics, not necessarily that shows you doing like these amazing moves. If you want to put those in as well, by all means. You know, but showing us the things that other people don't see, because that's important. Those are showing us the glue that holds things together.
What about promos? We're looking at sending promos as well.
Oh my goodness, so promos are something that I find that women don't get a lot of the opportunity to do at training schools for the most part. I don't know if this is the same all around the world or it's just specifically over here, but you often see women just kind of fall into one or two categories. And especially as the heel, it's usually like the spoilt brat, you know, that kind of thing, where it's just, there's not a lot of depth or anything to them. So if you can put some promos in and show you can talk, and ideally that doesn't just fall under, you know, that stereotypical character that most promotions seem to have. And I get it. It's the easy one to go to, but it's also down to often a lot of promotions being quite lazy in not investing enough time into their women's divisions and their women talent. But yeah, put your promo photos in there, because, you know, they're going to be needed for, you know, either the posters or the versus screens, you know, or potentially for the lower thirds, depending on what they use on those. You know, but put everything that, you know, you would expect, you know, so like your entrance music. I can't tell you how many times, you know, I've had to like chase people to throw their entrance musics, and I just don't do it now, you know, because it's just like, you turn up on the day, you'll get what you're given. You know, like, and if you don't like it, then maybe you should have sent us it, because your entrance music is an extension of your character. It's not just, I really like that song. It shouldn't be that. The entrance music should be an extension of your character that helps tell the story. You know, like, can you imagine if you're watching Nightmare on Elm Street, but the director really fucking loves S Club 7? It's not going to set the scene.
No.
You know, like, it'll be funny. I would watch it. But if that was kind of like the normal thing, which it kind of is on a load of indie shows, is like not always just indie shows, to be honest, but like the entrance music doesn't set the theme for the character, you know, then it's just, again, there's a tool there to use, so use it, you know. But that's another sector altogether. But put everything in there. Put your CV, your about us, who you were trained by, selection of matches that best show you. I can say from myself, versatility. I love versatility in a performer. Emi Sakura, one of the reasons why I've never had any stresses in using Emi Sakura is on the day, if something happens, say someone breaks down on the way to the venue. That happens. Shit like that happens, you know, and you need to readjust the card, because maybe that's someone that broke down on the way to the venue. Maybe that was a car full. Maybe there was 3 or 4 wrestlers in that car, and now they're stuck on the M25 somewhere. Right. Well, now you have to adjust the card something. Well, I know with someone like Emi Sakura, I know I'm using someone that's like a 25-year veteran now, but using this as an example, I can stick Emi in any match. I can stick Emi in a match that's designed for laughs. I can stick Emmy in a match that's designed for drama. I can stick Emmy in a match that's designed for action. I can stick Emmy in a match that's designed for all of those things and so much more. Yeah. Because Emmy is a versatile performer. She is as versatile as they come. So if you can show some versatility, that's great too. And you don't have to be, because if you're a character like Su Yung, I know what I'm buying with Su Yung, and I love what I'm buying there. Yeah. We now know obviously that she is more versatile. Or Susie, exactly. But Sue's also smart and knows how to, take that character, and she can either make it dramatic or, with the right opponent, you can have a completely different, play. Because who you can put them together, who you can, partner them up with. And so looking at that, so the Dropbox is, I know you spoke to me before about Dropbox and Google Drives. Promo photos. There, send them to the promoters. Yeah, promo photos, transparent. PNGs are great if you can. Yeah, absolutely. If you've got custom music, if you haven't, Kayfabe Music UK, little plug there. Yeah, and I will say on the music, so people need to invest in custom music. And I'm not just trying to make it because this is, specifically what Kayfabe is, known for, but it is because of the fact that so many people are moving to additional digital services, whether it be Twitch, whether it be YouTube. And even then, to be honest with you, even if you got an on-demand, you should not be using, copyright music, and you can find yourself actionable for it, which means someone has to edit that music for, when they go online. As I have been doing a lot of that recently, is changing people's musics. I spend a lot of time trying to find tracks that fit the character, and also fit the mannerisms and fit the entrance, because the entrance is a dance in its own way. Everything you do has to make sense. Again, you're telling the story. Who are you? Who's the character? What are you going down to that ring for? Yeah. You're doing all this, and you want to have that music that suits you. Now, do you want to have music that's been selected by you, that's a bespoke track that's been made to suit you and benefits your character and your career, that you can take anywhere, that can be played on any format and be played on any digital media outlet without being edited, and so you get to present your character as you visioned and intended it to be presented? Or do you want someone to have just put whatever copyright-free track music they can and overdub and cut out the pops for your entrance and cut your sound bites out or whatever else because they can't use that commercial track? Yeah. And it makes a hell of a difference. A good entrance. How many of you, realistically, if you're out there right now and you're watching, all 7.5 of you, don't ask about the half, all right? But if you're out there right now, how many of you have watched those top 10 entrances? How many of you have watched those top 10 return videos for that crowd pop? Imagine if you've got one of those, but because you used a commercial track, it can't be put on YouTube anymore because it gets exactly. Yeah, totally get it. So, and it's good, like, as you said, photos, promo. If you haven't got a promo, for me, if I was applying, I would be sending a promo on the promotion. I would, and as you say, versatility, I'll do a heel one. You don't have to send it on the promotion, or anyone that's on the roster. Just sorry, if you haven't got a show promo, just record one. Maybe we've all got mobile phones now. Don't just send music videos either. Don't just send music videos, because I need to see what you're doing in between the moves. Yes, I don't. The moves are like this. The moves are very flashy and very cool. And if you've got something that's unique, because your moves are a physical catchphrase, if you've got a move that's specifically unique to you that like no one else is doing, then cool, it's great to see. But I should also see that potentially in one of the matches that you send me. I don't want to see clips highlighted, just clips. You can send a music video if you want, but it better include matches as well, because you can cut out everything that goes wrong. And it's handy for me to know where someone struggles, because that helps me put them with other people who perhaps are good at covering those things and they can learn from. Yes. Rather than putting some people who are, both struggled on the same thing, and therefore the match kind of falls apart. Yeah. And then you talk about that, what not to do is if I want clips put together, I'll watch an episode of Power Rangers and I'll watch all the highlights of the kicks and flips and all of that malarkey. Yeah. So what with regards to you said about what not to do in terms of don't send music videos with the highlight clips of your best bits, because again, you need to see everything. Don't just, you can send that, but don't just only send that, is what I'm saying. What else is there things of not to do? What they shouldn't do? Just if you're copy and pasting, let's go into multiple promotions. Make sure that you've put the right promotion in.
Because I know you've been approached by many a men.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I've had so many, but I've also had numerous men like message saying, I've got this idea, this radical storyline idea. I'll come in and I'll beat all of the girls, but then I'll put over your top girl, and it'll be this big thing for them because they overcame and beat a man. They were better than a man.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, that's so original, pal. That's so original.
Yeah.
Like, so know the people that you're actually reaching out to. Have an idea of people that you can work with. And this part's not quite as relevant right now because of COVID, but like in a post-COVID world where, it's safe to travel, everyone together and whatnot, say who it is that's near you and say, I can get in a car with this person, or if you drive, I can drive this person. She got a full car of, talent coming down. Say who you specifically have, you work frequently with and have good matches with, as long as be sure that person would also vouch for you.
Yes.
Also believes that they're good matches. I could keep going on and on and on, but those are some of the things that, immediately come to mind. But yeah, I want to know who trained you. I want to know so much. I think we've pretty much covered it.
Yeah, I'd treat it like a CV. If you're applying for a job, treat it like
it's a job.
Everything in there you possibly can. And have the research done.
With WWE, for example, like they have that corp section where you apply and you put all those things down on there, because it is a job.
Yeah.
So why not? Not everyone is going to come to you. You've got to be prepared to do everything you can to go to them.
And that includes big names as well.
And I really would recommend, like, the two people that really just kind of like stick out in my mind of ultimate, professionalism and how they present themselves to us is, in getting bookings and going out there was Jordan Grace and Killer Kelly. Because it was both before they had a notable name for themselves. So obviously now pretty much, if you follow an independent wrestling or if you watch Impact, for the most part, or even Jordan was on the All In event, the precursor to AEW. Or was it, it's the, you know who they are. But prior to that, obviously, like Jordan had to work hard to get those bookings, and she always presented herself as a professional, and she had those things together. I never had to chase Jordan for anything.
No.
The other thing she did, she updated that Dropbox. When she had new promo pics, she put those new promo pics in there so that on posters, it wasn't the same photo from 3 years ago that was being used in the same posters and versus screens and whatever.
So Dan, we spoke about why people should contact promoters. Obviously yourself at Pro Wrestling Eve. What's the best way, if anyone's watching this now thinking, I'd love to be on Pro Wrestling Eve, I think I fit that mold. What's the best way of contacting yourself to get themselves booked?
If you're a wrestler, the chances are you will know someone that has worked for Eve. We've got 10 years of running shows. Simplest thing is to do is to grab those contact details and send us an email with the things that we spoke about earlier.
Perfect. Well, Dan, I'll let you go this time. I'm sure you'll be back for another episode, and we might be wearing the same clothes. It might be literally in 5 minutes' time we do this.
My entire wardrobe is basically Eve merchandise. So,
and that's the thing. Get your merch. So I'll let you go. Thank you very much for being behind the curtain. This is how to get booked, and this is Dan Read.